So that's what you've been doing? Fighting it. Charlotte scowled at them. Mama says, no fighting, she said solemnly. It's okay, Charlotte, we're not fighting. Kay, she said and returned to her drawing. So, how long have you been enjoying this summer? Maggie made air quotes. I don't think enjoying is the right word, and why were you doing that thing with your hands? What do you mean, oh, the air quotes? They mean. Look, never mind that. How long? I don't know, Tommy said. Numbers, remember. Okay, let's try something else then. Do you get older when you're here? Tommy shrugged. I don't think so. So what do you remember from before you came here? Do you remember who's president? I'm not sure. Kind of a goofy-looking guy. Really short name. Bush. Maggie suggested. Yeah, that's it. Bush. That means you've been here, dash. And that other guy, Tommy interrupted, he'd fit right in here. He couldn't spell either. What do you mean? I don't know how to do it now, but potato. Oh my God. You meant Bush one. You've been here for, Maggie paused longer than she normally would have had to, more than 25 years. Tommy just sat there, looking more and more uncertain. I don't know, he mumbled. For a few minutes, they just sat there. The only sound was the scratching sound of Charlotte's crayons and the wind picking up outside. So how do we get out of here? Maggie finally asked. I don't know. I don't even know if I ever knew. It's like I'm trapped in a dark cellar. Why don't you just go back up the stairs? Charlotte asked, putting down her crayons. It's not really a cellar, Charlotte, Tommy said with a sigh. Hang on, Maggie said. She grabbed Tommy's arm. How did you get here? I'm not sure, he said hesitantly. It's all so fuzzy. It's like it's me, but not me. Like dash. A mirror image, they both said. What do you mean? Tommy asked. We try what Charlotte suggested. We go out the way we came in. We'll just have to hope that it works for all of us. So where is this way out then? Up the hill and into the woods, Maggie said vaguely. That's it? We're never going to find it in the dark. Okay, my little munchkins, it's bedtime, Eliza's voice called from downstairs. But Moom, Charlotte complained. Now, tomorrow's another day. Okay, she said dejectedly and headed for the stairs. Tommy and Maggie followed close behind. When they came down, Eliza kneeled down and wiped a smudge off Maggie's cheek. I set up your bed in Charlotte's room since you two are such good friends already. Charlotte squealed with delight at the news. Eliza handed Maggie a toothbrush. Now you go brush your teeth while I get Charlotte ready. And Tommy, once I'm done with Charlotte, it's your turn to have a bath. Again. Tommy whined, suddenly sounding more like a kid than before. The look Eliza gave him clearly told him that the matter was not up for discussion. Okay, Mom, he said and headed downstairs. Maggie went to the bathroom and, standing on a stool, she barely managed to reach the shelf where the toothpaste was. It was hard to control the oversized toothpaste tube and she ended up squeezing out a lot more than she intended. After she was done, Maggie took off her dress and tried to take off her diaper, but the tapes just didn't want to come loose. She even tried to wiggle out of them, but despite feeling somewhat loose, they didn't want to go down past her hips. Nor could she push it to the side to pee. The more she tried, the greater the urge became, until it was almost painful. She finally accepted the fact that the diaper was not going anywhere. She was going to have to wet it, and soon. Maggie was just standing still, almost holding her breath when she heard footsteps and Charlotte's happy chattering. Okay, if I wet it now, I can get changed right away. That won't be so bad. Maggie tried to let go, but couldn't. Then she had an idea. She sat down on the toilet. The feeling of the toilet seat was enough of a sense memory to let Maggie let go. She felt a warm rush surround her crotch and seep towards her butt. Maggie slid off the toilet, feeling the warm squish of her diaper just as the door opened and Eliza peeked in. "So," she asked, "are you still dry?" obviously seeing that Maggie wasn't. "No," Maggie said, almost whispering. Shame and frustration at having had to wet herself almost made her want to cry. Eliza knelt in front of Maggie and stroked her cheek. "Don't cry, dear. That's what they're there for. Come along, Mommy'll make it better." She took Maggie's hand and led her out the door. Maggie tried to grab her dress before she leaving the bathroom. "Oh, just leave it, pumpkin. Nobody'll mind." Eliza led Maggie down the stairs. On the way, they passed Jacob and Maggie instinctively tried covered up her bare chest and diaper. Jacob, however, didn't even seem to notice that Maggie was topless. Once inside the downstairs bathroom, Eliza helped Maggie up on the giant changing table. Maggie winced at the squishy sensation as she sat down on the wet diaper. "Now lie back and we'll get you washed and ready for bed." Maggie lay back. Lying on the changing table wearing nothing but a wet diaper felt weird and humiliating, almost like she was on display. She desperately wanted something to cover up with. While Eliza undid the tapes and pulled off the diaper, she hummed a melody that was annoyingly familiar, but Maggie couldn't place it. The whole situation felt so awkward that Maggie just closed her eyes. She almost jumped when she felt a warm wetness on her crotch. "What dash? Baby. Mommy just has to wash you so you don't get sore." The childish tone only made Maggie feel more awkward. Eliza dried and powdered Maggie before quickly putting a new diaper on her. "There we are. Doesn't that feel all better?" she asked, giving Maggie's crotch a quick pat before helping her down from the changing table. The new diaper was much thicker than the one she had worn before. Maggie couldn't even bring her legs all the way together and had to waddle slightly when she walked. "Why is it so much thicker than the other one?" she asked. "We wouldn't want any leaks at night, would we?" "I guess," Maggie admitted. "Now, did you brush your teeth?" Maggie only nodded in reply. She was still fascinated with the extra bulk between her legs. It felt very different from the extra thick towel diapers she had experimented with. Eliza took Maggie's hand. "Okay then, off to bed we go." Charlotte was standing in the doorway to one of the rooms when they came up the stairs. Like Maggie, she was also wearing nothing but a diaper. "Well, hello there, little munchkin. Why aren't you in bed yet, and where's your nightdress?" Eliza asked. "It's too hot," Charlotte said, looking down and biting the tip of her thumb. "I guess you're right," Eliza said. "But hop in bed now." "Okay," Charlotte chirped and ducked back inside. Eliza and Maggie followed her. The room wasn't very big. There was a dresser by the wall opposite the door and a bed on either side. By the foot of each bed was a toy box. Everything was oversized and painted in cheery colors. Charlotte was already in the bed on the left. Eliza tucked them both in and kissed them goodnight. It was years since Maggie had gone to bed this early, but for some reason she was so tired that it didn't take her more than a few minutes before she fell asleep. Maggie woke up from somebody shaking her shoulder. For a moment she looked around in the gloom, having forgotten where she was, then she saw who had woken her up. Charlotte was standing next to her bed, clutching a worn teddy bear to her chest with one arm. "What is it, Charlotte? Can we sleep with you? Mr. Bear thinks it's scary when it's dark and windy." "Okay, sure," Maggie mumbled and lifted the duvet. Charlotte crawled into bed and lay down next to her, snuggling close. Maggie pulled the duvet over them both and wrapped an arm protectively around Charlotte, who was already half asleep with her thumb in her mouth. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. When Maggie woke up, she was lying pressed against the wall. Charlotte was lying on her stomach, arms and legs spread as if she was skydiving, yet still managing to snore softly. Maggie caught a whiff of something and made the mistake of lifting the duvet. The smell that hit her nostrils made it quite clear what Charlotte had done. Maggie carefully made her way around Charlotte to get out of bed. She looked out of the window at the beautiful day outside. The sun was shining from a blue sky with only a few fluffy clouds. She opened the window to let in the fresh air. Or let out the smell. What had that girl been eating? Outside, the birds were singing. Maggie leaned on the windowsill and listened to the world waking up. Suddenly her crotch grew warm as she wet herself. Maggie was shocked. She hadn't noticed that she needed to pee until it was too late. Also, she didn't find wearing a wet diaper anywhere near as distasteful as she had the day before. This place is affecting me already. I have to get out of here. Charlotte stirred and stopped snoring, and Maggie walked over to the bed. She knelt next to it, taking care not to put weight on her diaper. "Good morning, Charlotte," Maggie said, carefully brushing the hair out of Charlotte's face. "Did Mr. Bear sleep well?" she added. "Morning." Charlotte started to roll over on her back, but Maggie stopped her. "Can you keep a secret?" Maggie asked quietly. "HM." Charlotte nodded. "Me and Tommy are going on a treasure hunt today." Charlotte perked up. "Can I come too?" "Of course you can, but we can't tell anybody. Especially Eliza." "Who?" "Mom," Maggie corrected. "It'll be our secret. Just you and me and Tommy." "Okay. So where is it?" "Where is what?" "The treasure." "Oh. We don't know." Charlotte looked confused. "That's why we're looking for it." "I mean, it wouldn't really be a treasure hunt if we knew where it was, would it?" Maggie added. The answer seemed to satisfy Charlotte. "Come on, let's see if Mom is up so we can get you changed." Maggie helped Charlotte up and they headed downstairs. They were halfway down the stairs before Maggie realized that they were both wearing nothing but diapers. "Wait here," Maggie said, and darted back up the stairs as quickly as the swollen diaper and slightly too big steps would allow. She returned with a couple of nightdresses from the dresser, but Charlotte was already downstairs and headed for the kitchen. Maggie quickly pulled one of the dresses over her head and followed her. It was a little too small, so she couldn't quite get it over the diaper, but didn't really care as long as her breasts were hidden. She didn't really want to run around topless even if nobody else seemed to care about that. Maggie followed Charlotte through the kitchen and out onto the porch. There, sitting on the porch swing in the morning sun, was Eliza. "Morning, Mama," Charlotte said and gave her a hug. Eliza sniffed the air. "Smells like one of you need a change." She looked at Maggie. "Or maybe both of you." Eliza got up from the swing and took Charlotte's hand. "Come on, Munchkin. Let's get you cleaned up." It took a while, but eventually Eliza and Charlotte returned. Charlotte was wearing the same type of short dress as the day before, except it was pale yellow today, and her hair was back in pigtails. Maggie was next, and in no time at all, she was washed and powdered. Eliza held up 2 diapers for her. "So, teddy bears," she wiggled one of the diapers. "Or do you want the pretty flowers?" She wiggled the other. Maggie decided it was probably best to play along to avoid raising suspicion. She pretended to think about it for a few moments, and then she gave a little giggle and pointed at the diaper with the flower prints. Mom." "Yes, dear." Maggie wrinkled her nose. "I don't like dresses. Can I have pants like Maria?" "Pretty please," she said, knowing that if she was going to be walking around the forest, she wanted pants and not a dress that would get caught on everything. "Are you sure? You look so pretty in your dress yesterday." HM. Maggie nodded. "Well, okay, but then you have to remember to let me know if you have to go poo-piss." "Like now?" Maggie asked, feigning innocence. "Oh, you have to go now?" Maggie nodded in reply and was quickly helped off the changing table and to the toilet. Sitting down and letting go felt better than in a long time. Still, Maggie was surprised at how little it bothered her to be doing this in front of someone who was essentially a stranger. This place is really getting to me. Minutes later, Maggie was washed, powdered, diapered, and back in the kitchen. She was wearing overalls with colorful patches sewn on the bib and on one of the knees. Charlotte was sitting by the table drawing something. Maggie looked over her shoulder. In the middle of the paper was a house. What's that? It's a treasure map, of course. We can't go on a treasure hunt without a treasure map. Ah, of course, Maggie said. Why didn't I think of that? She sat down next to Charlotte and helped her with the map, drawing trees along the edges. Eliza went back outside and for a while it was just the two of them. The house seemed almost cozy, even if it repeated the same day over and over. Stop that. Maggie shook her head to clear it. As the others waddled through the kitchen door, Eliza got them changed and dressed, and soon enough, it was time for breakfast. It had been ages since Maggie had oatmeal porridge for breakfast, but she had to admit that it was not only delicious, but also filling. By the time she was done, she felt as though she had a stomach full of concrete. Walking was almost a little uncomfortable. Eliza sent all the children outside to play while she cleaned up. Maria and Jacob found their boats and headed off for another round in their apparently eternal race. I still don't see why they can't come along, Maggie told Tommy as soon as they were out of earshot. Maria would rat us out in a heartbeat. We wouldn't be able to trust her. Yeah, she's a big, old, meanie Judyhead, Charlotte chimed in. And Jacob? He seems like a nice enough guy. Tommy nodded. He is. But you didn't see him when he came here. As bad as this place is, I think he had it worse back home. Are you sure? Maggie still felt bad for leaving the two behind. As sure as I can be. Maggie sighed. Okay then. So it's just the three of us, she said and started up the hill she had come down only the day before. Once they reached the trees, Charlotte pulled out her map and started walking off to the left. Maggie had to stop her and point out that she was holding the map wrong every couple of minutes. As the walk deeper into the forest, twigs and branches began to get caught in their clothes and the ground changed. It was no longer the smooth dirt that was easy on their bare feet. All of a sudden, pebbles and prickly, dry grass appeared. I think we're on the right track, Tommy said. It's almost as if the forest doesn't want us to walk this way. Maggie agreed. Charlotte sat down on a big root. I don't want to do this anymore. It's no fun, she complained. What's in this treasure anyway? Maggie saw that they were about to lose Charlotte. She sat down next to her. You know how it's summer now, she said. Charlotte nodded. Don't you miss the winter? Snowmen, snow angels, hot chocolate. And Christmas? Charlotte said, her eyes lighting up. Yeah. And Christmas. That's what's in the treasure, winter. That seemed to be enough to motivate Charlotte, so they continued onwards. After quite a while and 2 tears in Charlotte's dress, they found the clearing. Maggie thought the shed in the middle looked a lot creepier now than it had yesterday. The treasure's in there? Charlotte asked nervously as she tried to hide behind Maggie. I think so. Maggie took a step forwards and all of a sudden the summer day didn't feel quite as nice and warm. There was a clammy chill in the air. I'm scared, Charlotte complained. I don't like this place. I want Mr. Bear. You can hold my hand, Charlotte, Maggie said and held out her hand. MK, she said, grabbing the hand, but still walking behind Maggie and Tommy. Maggie didn't need to look back to understand that while she was holding one hand, the thumb of the other hand was firmly in Charlotte's mouth. You know what, Charlotte, Maggie said, trying to sound cheerful. I think it's supposed to be scary. After all, it wouldn't be a real treasure hunt if it wasn't, would it? Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached the door. Maggie pushed it open to reveal a brilliant golden light. Do you guys see that too? Maggie asked. Aha. What's that light? Charlotte wondered. Tommy took a step forward. Be careful, Maggie warned. We don't know if it'll work. Honestly, either way it'll be better than staying here, he said and walked into the light. Tommy? Maggie called after a few seconds, but there was no answer. The only sound was a steadily growing rumble behind them. Maggie glanced back over her shoulder and saw that the perfect blue sky was filled with dark clouds, and lightning flashing more and more frequently. Come on, Charlotte. We have to go too, Maggie said. But I'm scared. It's okay. I'll hold your hand all the way. And I promise I won't let go. They took another step closer. Maggie held her breath as they stepped across the threshold and into the light. For a brief moment there was the sensation of falling, and then nothing. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. A light woke Maggie up. She yawned and stretched, peering into the pre-dawn gloom to see the familiar things in her tiny apartment. Outside, the street light was swaying in the wind. Wow. That was a crazy dream. She untangled herself from the sheet and sat up. That's when she saw it. She wasn't wearing the towel diaper, but a big, puffy diaper with a cheerful flower print. And it was wet.